unbearable. And I know that because I had to navigate through it in my 20s. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
something that they're trying to come out of that. And I have to do this as a multiracial matriarch. I have to do this because no one did it for me, not
Flower,
black and white.
flowers, flowers. Let me jump in there. Hey, that's beautiful. I'm so glad that you're going to self-champion. You know, if folks aren't galvanizing at the way and rate in which is matches your speed, that you're not waiting. Much, much respect for that. I do want to get to Magic Malata. You're welcome to stay on. Should we
Okay,
have some closing thoughts or comments? But thank you so much, Flowers.
thank
Thank you.
you.
Malik,
Yes, thank you.
Hi, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on. Thank you,
how are you,
AJ. Thank
Magic?
you, Dr. Matthew. Thank you so much. I loving this
Hey.
conversation. So I have two questions. So do you guys support anti-hate laws towards biracial, multiracial people? Because that's like one issue I want us to collectively come together and pass like anti-hate laws on. And then my second question is, how can we fight anti-mixed race narratives? Like there's still like this narrative that we're products of rape, and even though that's not really true anymore, but there's still this narrative that we're products of rape, and then we're just the trash of the white community, and so we just go in the black community because we're trash in the white community. Nobody wants it in the white community, so we automatically. So there's a lot of anti-hateful narratives that affect us. So how do we fight these narratives, and do you guys support a anti-hate law towards biracial people?
Doc?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I certainly support anti-hate laws in general. I certainly support hate, the category of hate crimes and prosecuting them. I honestly had never thought about a specific one for biracial people. But having said that, um, yes, I would support it. I think because I don't think any of this is antithetical. So, for instance, um, I have people in my family that are identified as black, biracial, and pansexual, right? So they're targets for lots of different reasons, but they're also targets for specific reasons that may not be included and may not be prosecuted equally based upon the different status. So I'm thinking of one relative in particular who is, she would argue that she gets grief because of all of her identities, but primarily her pansexual identity, right? And I think sometimes place and region and locale has something to do with it. So in Arizona, there is a very concerted anti-LGBTQ effort that I believe requires a special organization and special prosecution. So if that means a specific law that enables policymakers and law enforcement to be able to protect a protected community, because we have other protected classes of people,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So why not?
Thank
Particularly,
you.
as a parent of biracial children, I can tell you, well, you know this, I'm preaching to the choir. They have been targeted specifically
Yep.
because they are biracial.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I think that's
Yep.
Magic Malata's point that if we are at such a point to where beyond just youthful ribbing, playground nuance, that even as people are getting older and they're being targeted by biracialness, there ought to be anti-legislation to protect that. That would also fit with what I believe is a strategy within the biracial community to have a designation that is identified as biracial. So therefore, when you report crime, you can then
Yep.
anchor that in a not a subset, but a distinct identity. I would say moving forward, given what I'm hearing, the fervor, the concern, the examples, file the police report, let proper authorities know, simultaneously work on other strategies around identification pillars, and then you put those two together, and then you can, from a policy legislative perspective, you can activate on that. But yeah, I think it needs to bring heightened awareness to these not unique, but these common
Exactly.
experiences that biracial people are experiencing. But you tell that story broadly. I, as someone
Yep.
who's been biracial all my life, had never thought of it categorically in that way. So there's education to be had.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we get singled out so easily. Like everywhere we go, we're the only biracial person in the room, and it's so easy to single us out and bully us. That's why we need this type of protection, because it's like it's so easy to. That's been my experience. It's easy to single us out. So it's like we don't have that collective group that we only have us really in real life. You know, we're trying to come together on the internet and form these conversations. And, you know, I have a channel where I'm speaking up on these issues and stuff. So,
You want to
yeah.
shout out your channel? Shout out your
my
channel.
Shout out my channel, Magic Mulata. It's right there. That's my channel. So I'm doing a live tonight talking about biracial activism. So how we
Okay.
can, and I'm just grateful for like allies and parents who have biracial children who want to protect their children and make sure they are not targeted just for being born, because it's a beautiful, wonderful thing being biracial. I love it. I love my experience. I love who I am. I'm grateful for both my mother and father. I'm grateful. I love both sides of myself, and I don't deserve to be hated just for being born how I am. I don't deserve to be targeted just for being born how I am. So
No,
yeah.
absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
For my own understanding of the age, what demographic are you in? 20, 30,
I'm
30,
28. I'm 28.
And what's your biracial configuration?
My mom is black and my dad's white.
Okay. And did you grow up with both of them?
Yep, they were married.
Okay, beautiful.
Very good.
Doc Whitaker, anything on the how biracial people can tell their own story as sort of a pushback to whatever stereotypical narratives are out there?
Yeah, that's
Well,
why
I think,
yeah.
First of all, thank you so much, Magic, and I love your image, your iconography
Thank
there.
you.
I think, first of all, social media is very powerful, and I would use that. The other thing you referred to, I think, is a lack of historical understanding, right? Because one of the things that you mentioned is powerful, and that is most people still situate biracial people within some sort of forced liaison circumstance.
Yep, exactly.
Now, and so, of course, first of all, we got to educate people. There's a book called Illicit Sex in the 19th Century South. It's edited by Martha Hodes.
What's it called? Can you repeat that again?
It's called Illicit Sex in the
Illicit Sex.
in the 19th Century South. It's Martha Hodes. She is biracial. Her configuration is black, white, and she's sort of the dean of biracial studies. She's published so many different things, and this was her first book. And what she said was, yes, rape was prevalent. We know that during enslavement, but she documents a bevy. Basically, what she says is people were having sex across race lines all over the place and creating biracial people. Now, the law didn't allow them to identify as biracial, but we've had voluntary consensual relations between people of different socially constructed races since the founding of the republic, but people still have it in their mind that somehow if you were biracial or descendants of biracial, you were descendant of someone who was sexually assaulted. It wasn't a loving relationship. And so one of the reasons why I committed myself to history is I believe a lot of poor treatment that people receive is because of ignorance and lack of understanding of what the reality is. And to the extent that you can help educate people about this, I think it will help to change, that paradigm. But I know exactly what you're talking about. My wife gets it. Half of the hate mail we get from my company, because we get hundreds and hundreds of them weekly, and I'm on a couple of hate mail target lists, white supremacists and some other groups, is because of my wife and my children.
Wow. I think the hate bill, should include interracial couples. The people who are, like you and your wife, you guys should be protected too, because there's a lot of people who want to hate you guys just for loving somebody of another race. I think the hate bill should protect people who are interracial couples just as much as they protect biracial children, So,
Yep. Now, thank you for that. I appreciate that as well. And God bless you. You seem like a beautiful soul. And
thank you so much.
No one should make you feel as though you're anything other than who you are. And that's what we gotta work on. No one has the right to define somebody else or mistreat them, because at the end of the day, it's their issue. They're uncomfortable for whatever reason.
Exactly. Yes, and they want to make us feel shamed, or we have to hide who we are just because they're uncomfortable. Like, there's been a big thing on social media. It's like, oh, I hate when mixed girls, they say they're mixed and proud, and I hate when mixed girls are always trying to say they're mixed, and it's like we have to hide our mixedness in order to make other people feel comfortable with themselves. But you know, I celebrate when I see like Black girl magic and Black girl winning, and I celebrate that because I'm like, that's who you are, and I want to see other people happy and winning. But it's like we don't get that same response when we say, we're mixed and we're beautiful and we're this. It's
Yep.
like, no, y'all think
Yep.
you're better. And it's like we don't get that same response, you know. I just wish
Yep.
I wish we could get the same response. Like we both support each other. Like we're different, of course, you know, we have our differences, but we can still love and respect and support each other. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I feel
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah,
AJ and I
yeah.
talk about this a lot. AJ, if I can make just for a second, and that is, Black people who identify just as Black have some responsibility that needs to be owned in
Yes.
hating biracial folks and
Yes.
pushing and criticizing and the colorisms and all of this stuff. That is also ahistorical.
Yes.
And we've got to, you know, I've seen it with my kids. You know, yeah, you know, they've come home and they're just like, look, you know, um, don't like put me through a test the minute you meet me.
Exactly. It gets exhausting. That's why I used to identify as Black too, you know, and then I seen online, no, Black, you're not Black, you're not Black. I kept hearing that over and over and over again. And it broke my heart. I was like, oh my God, I felt like a part of me was getting taken away. It really did break my heart, made me cry, made me feel horrible about myself. But that's why I started claiming being biracial, because it's like, but some people are trying to take that away from me sometimes, it feels like. So it's like, it's so hard trying to fight. Like, I just want to claim who I am and not have anybody take that out from under me or try to take my identity away from me. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be who I am. And, you know, that's it. Because I feel so horrible having that identity. Oh, you're not Black, having that ripped apart from me, and when I was like so happy with that identity. But you know, I just don't want to have people always trying to sweep what's the word, what's it saying, like take the rug up under us or something, like always trying to just take something away that, you know, I just want to be who I am, you know. That's it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both Magic and Flowers, thank you guys for sharing your testimony.
Thank you, Flowers. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do the don't profile biracial people. I want to make my own and then have that at my house too. You know, because I lived in Atlanta, but I moved to a white community, so I'm a you know, it happens on both sides. So I'm gonna be over here making sure these white folks don't be profiling us either. You know what I'm saying? So so yeah, but
Both Dr. Whitaker and I wish you much success in your personal and or group protests. But please continue to tell your stories. But also, you know, when you feel attacked, you're going to respond. You're going to give the same energy. I understand that.
yeah,
After a period of time, when things have calmed and you've resolved unto yourself, then tell your story, and tell your
mm-hmm.
story with hopefully listening ears, but also to then share the depth and revelation of your beautiful identity and to articulate the love source of both your parents. And then it's up for the
Mm-hmm.
community to hear you. It's just up for them to hear you. But self agency is something all individuals need to practice. And then we often fall into respective groups. As biracial continues to assert itself, I wish you much success and progress in that. But as I always talk about, as you transition into a new community, please do so on your own accord and not as a sort of a challenge or a slashing or an antiness
Oh
towards one of
yeah, I
the
like that.
beautiful.
We should do it out of love, not like out of resentment that we
Yeah,
were
just take
like kicked
yeah,
out of the Black community. I
yep.
understand. Yep. Okay.
Just take the
I like
cultural
that.
handoff and create it. Thank you so much, Magic. Truly appreciate you. If you see value,
Thank
please
you.
subscribe and keep checking us out. And
Thank
what
you
is
so
your show
much.
today? What's your show today?
It's gonna be biracial activism. It's gonna